Hello everyone. The objective of this tutorial is to explain and simplify critical appraisal of scientific evidence. This is a very important skill or function for medical affairs colleagues in any pharmaceutical organization. And also it is very important for any healthcare professional who is aiming to evaluate any scientific paper or research topic or subject. Critical appraisal of scientific evidence is a process that requires both to be evidence-based oriented and also to be systematic in our approach, not to miss any important step or any important question. So what I will do in this tutorial, I will explain critical appraisal of scientific evidence and its concept and the steps. Then I will share with you a mind map that is very systematic and you can keep it on file and go back to it whenever you need to do a critical appraisal for any scientific paper or every now and then to refresh your mind with the needed steps to do an effective and fruitful critical appraisal of any scientific paper. So let's get started. So the definition of critical appraisal of scientific evidence tells everything about it. It is the process of systematically evaluating research studies to assess their validity, importance, and applicability. And when we do this critical appraisal, we are sure that the conclusions of any research is referring to a valid methodology, accurate data, and it is applicable into reality, into clinical practice. So once again, it is the systematic evaluation of research studies to assess three things: validity, importance, and applicability. And I will explain these three in few seconds. This is a process that aims to assure us that any conclusion that is drawn from clinical research is referring to a valid methodology, accurate data, and it is applicable in reality. Okay, so the process of evaluating scientific evidence should be systematic, and it aims to evaluate or assess the research from three angles. First, to answer the question, is this research valid? Because if it is not valid, there is no need for us to be busy with it. So this is the first question. Is this research valid? The second question, is it important? So this is another important question. Is this research paper talking about an important research, or this is something that we already know, or this research question was answered before? Again, if it is not important, we shouldn't be busy with it. We shouldn't change the guidelines for it. We shouldn't change our clinical practice based on it. The third question is it applicable in reality? Is it applicable in clinical practice, or there are certain obstacles or difficulties that it makes this research conclusions very difficult to be implemented in reality? Again, if the answer is negative, the research will not be really a game changer when it comes to clinical evidence. And before we dive into the depth of critical appraisal, let's remember that it's not just about scrutinizing research papers. It's like being a detective in the world of medical literature, where our magnifying glass helps us uncover the real value of studies for our patients. So let's put our detective hats and use our lens to uncover the mysteries of evidence-based medicine together. Let's get started. So let's say that we have a research paper or a publication and we want to do an evidence-based approach to critically appraise this document or this research. So what is the first question? Is this a valid research or not? And when we do this, we will ask 4 additional questions to evaluate the validity. First, we will look at the study design and evaluate it. Second, we will look to the methodology that was used in this research. Third, we will do the data analysis review. We will check the data, how it was analyzed. And finally, we will see if the results of the study is consistent with other studies or other results from different research. So when it comes to validity, we will look to the design, methodology, the analysis that was used to conclude the study, and the consistency of the results with different research results. Validity refers to how well a study measures what it intends to measure and the extent to which its findings are influenced by biases. Assessing the study validity is the core of the critical appraisal process, and it includes 4 important steps. The study design evaluation. The initial step in critical appraisal is to assess the study's design. Each type of study design, maybe it's a randomized control trial, cohort studies, or case control studies, has its own level of inherent reliability and potential for bias. And here we can link it easily to the hierarchy of evidence. The design of the study lays the groundwork for how trustworthy its conclusion might be. The next step in assessing the validity is the methodology, evaluation of the methodology. And this involves a close look at how the study was conducted. Key elements to consider include how participants were chosen, the use of randomization to assign treatments or interventions, the implementation of blinding, where study participants and sometimes the researchers do not know which or who is receiving which treatment, so it's double blind or single blind accordingly, and how well the study was controlled for confounding factors. These are the variables that might influence the outcome. A study that effectively manages these aspects in a good way is likely to produce more valid results. The third step here is the review of data analysis. How the data analysis was conducted. This step is about evaluating the statistical methods that are used to analyze the study's data. It's crucial to determine whether these methods are suitable for the type of data collected and the study design. This review also includes checking for any signs of data manipulation or selective reporting of results. The last step in checking the validity or evaluating the validity of the study would be the checking the results consistency. It is important to compare the study's finding with existing research findings in the same field. To answer the question, are the results consistent with what other studies have found, or do they significantly deviate from this available evidence or studies? Results that greatly differ from established research warrant additional scrutiny. The second step is to check the reliability. And here we will ask another 4 questions. What is the clinical relevance? What are the outcome measures and the endpoints? What is the magnitude of the effect? Is it significant? If it is not significant, and we need to spend time to evaluate how big or what is the magnitude of the effect. And we have to conduct risk-benefit analysis, if not included in the paper. Assessing the importance of clinical studies is a key step in critical appraisal. This involves several crucial considerations. 1. Clinical relevance. The heart of assessing a study's importance lies in its clinical relevance. Does the study address a healthcare question that is both meaningful and relevant? For example, if a study is exploring a new medication, It is essential to determine whether it's tackling a significant health care issue or need. Other than the clinical relevance, outcome measures. The outcomes study measures are pivotal. They should be directly relevant to a patient care. For example, in a study about a new drug, it's more valuable if the study measures clinically significant outcomes, such as improvement in symptoms or quality of life, rather than just the changes in the laboratory values like blood pressure measurements, for example. Magnitude of effect. It's not just about whether the study results are statistically significant. The size of the effect observed is equally important. A small effect size, even if statistically significant, might not have meaningful clinical implications. Then we come to the risk benefit analysis. Every study should weigh the terms of the benefits it offers against the potential risks or harms it may cause. This balance is crucial in determining the overall importance of the study findings. The next step is to assess the applicability of the research. And beyond the importance, the applicability of research is another critical step. Here we will. The third step and the last step is to check if it is applicable or not. If these research results are applicable to clinical practice, to reality or not. The first thing is to look at its ability to be generalized. So if the study was conducted on 1,000 patients, for example, can we generalize it and implement the results across the entire population? The second, how practical it is. And the third is the alignment with patient value. And the fourth question is the cost effectiveness. So when it comes to how applicable this research results in real life, we need to answer these four questions. Is it applicable to be generalized to a bigger number of patients or a bigger section of the population? Two, how practical it is to implement this approach? Three, is it aligned with the patient value or not? Because if it is not, again, we shouldn't be busy with it. And finally, how is the cost effectiveness? If it is a very expensive approach, most likely it will not be applicable in clinical practice. And so it will not be really a strong research, or the results will not be really applicable in real life. Assess generalizability. In other words, can the results of the study be applied to the broader patient population? And to answer this question, we need to evaluate the study setting, the demographics of the patients involved, and the specific characteristics of the disease or the condition being studied. Practicality. It's essential to consider whether the intervention or findings of the study are feasible and practical in the real world clinical setting. Can the recommendations be realistically implemented in typical healthcare environments? Alignment with patient values, another point to assess when we talk about the applicability. Alignment with the patient's value. In today's patient centered care and approach, how well a study aligns with the patient values and preferences? This is increasingly important. This aspect ensures that the care provided resonates with what patients deem important in their treatment and healthcare experience. And also, we need to assess, as part of assessing the applicability, the cost effectiveness. It makes sense, especially in a world where healthcare economics play a significant role. Considering the cost effectiveness of an intervention is very important. You remember when we talked about the cost of evidence based medicine? It's about assessing whether the benefits of an intervention justify the cost involved. If you answer these questions and then you divide the three main questions into 12 smaller questions, then we go to the mind map, because it is very common that we miss one step of this. So it's very good to follow a chart or a mind map to remind us with all the steps needed. And I'm sure there are some applications that can help us do this critical appraisal nowadays on mobile phones or on the laptops. But this is a very simple approach, just a mind map divided into the 12 steps that we need to follow. So let's see the mind map for critical appraisal of scientific evidence.
The mind map you see on the screen breaks down the process of critical appraisal into the three key components: validity, importance, and applicability, evaluating the three of them.
Let me also share with you why it is important for medical affairs colleagues to learn how to do critical appraisal. And by the way, when you evaluate the methodology or the design, for example, you need to do it frequently in order to be experienced in it. So it's not something that you can read and you will implement it on the next day, but you need to do it for different research papers in order to gain the experience and be able at later stage to really provide an opinion that is based or rooted in scientific evidence and systematic in its approach. So the medical affairs colleagues in the pharmaceutical industry needs to learn critical appraisal first because they need to do the critical appraisal for any new research they receive, whether in order to be the content for a key opinion leader exchange or to be content for another research or to be the content of an educational campaign, any new study, any research paper or work related to the disease area where you are specialized in, you need to do the critical appraisal to answer the questions. Are these studies valid? Are they important? Can they change the guidelines and the clinical practice or not? The second reason why medical affairs need to learn critical appraisal is because it prepares us for the academic writing. So, critical appraisal of scientific evidence helps us a lot when we write papers. And imagine if you know how people are criticizing any scientific paper, you will definitely do a big difference writing your paper with this approach, that you know how things will be assessed. So this is very important, and we need medical writing not only for research papers, but actually whenever we are communicating internally or externally. So I follow the medical writing or the academic writing approach when I do presentations, when I wanted to make a point, when I want to make a scientific argument. And trust me, I follow it sometimes in business. So if you wanted to convince your business partners with something, the academic approach in writing is a very good approach also in communication. So knowing how the final research work will be assessed helps you a lot when you do your own writing, when you do your own paper, and also help you to evaluate the papers and the scientific abstracts by others as well. The third reason why medical affairs needs to understand how to do the critical appraisal is to enhance our communication externally, starting from the key opinion leader engagements to our different or to different types of external medical communication, because our work is based on making scientific arguments and proving that the evidence is valid, strong, and have been accumulated, or that the evidence is weak and we need more data. So, if we are talking all our day about evidence, we need to know what are the methods to criticize this evidence. And when we say that this is strong evidence, and when we say that this is not a strong evidence, and knowing critical appraisal, even without looking at a paper in front of us, will help us to prepare ourselves for these discussions and these scientific arguments. And that's how you win a discussion with a scientist. In order to win a discussion with a scientist, you need to be very well prepared, not only with the science, but also with the vehicle where you will make your point or make your argument. I hope I simplified the idea of the critical appraisal and the steps. I hope that I simplified the concept of critical appraisal, and I will definitely leave a link for the mind map in the description of this video. So thank you again for your attention. And thank you very much. Good luck.